Hello, everyone. Today, our guest is going to be Charles Antis, and he is the CEO and founder of Charles Antis Roofing and Waterproofing Company. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. I was doing a little bit of research about you, and I came across your video which says "Concepts to Change the World," and I figured like you are very passionate about what you're doing. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience, how you got started, and everything about yourself?
Well, I do have a lot of passion at work today because I understand where my priorities are. Yeah, I'm CEO of a roofing company, but what my job is chief people awakener. I come to work every day wanting to lift everybody I flow by, everyone I touch in ripples or in wakes that'll change them forever. And I started this way, not knowing it. 30 years ago when I started my business, because of the stories that occurred to me collectively have turned me into the visionary leader that I am today. One that believes that we're better together and we can make the world better if we think we can together. And so what happened though, it didn't start with such joy. When I started my roofing company, I discovered I had a skill. I could solve leaks. And I didn't have much work though. I had so few calls that I literally, my work one day was putting weather stripping on the home bedroom that I converted to an office. So if a client called, they wouldn't hear my baby. And under that condition of needing those calls so I could go show my skill of solving leaks, I got a call one day from a woman and she had leaks in every room. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to make some money. And the next day I'm driving out to her home, but as I'm getting closer to the neighborhood where her home's going to be, I'm noticing that the homes are suddenly getting smaller, more disheveled. Then I see graffiti on a home. I finally turn on the street where the home's going to be, and I look. I don't even see a home. I can't get. I'm looking past the home before. I just see dead grass, and finally it's set back in this lot. There's this small four-walled home. I'm thinking, can that be it? And I went to that home, suddenly not thinking I'm going to make any money, but just because my dad says when you show up, you show up. And so I showed up, I knocked on that door, and three things happened that again brings me to right here. And the first was this woman answers the door, but she's not smiling. She's probably like my age now, like 50 something. She's got this worn expression on her face, like she's had a really bad month. And I'm wondering what I'm going to say. I'm thinking how I'm going to say hi. And then suddenly I'm hit with the second impression, which is the smell of mildew that is so foul, it nearly knocks me over. And I'm recoiling, wondering what I'm going to say as I'm leaving, because I have to get out of here. But as I start to leave, the third impression hits, and that's a tug at my finger. And I look down, and in contrast to the pained expression of the mom and in me, there was this little girl who had an ear-to-ear smile. She was happy. She had a visitor in her home, and she just pulls me through this crowded living room into a crooked hallway where she turns right and she points. And I knew it was her room because she had this big smile as she pointed to My Little Pony poster, like a unicorn poster on the wall. And that was the exact moment, though, that I noticed at her feet 4 mattresses with moldy bedding. And so that was a painful moment. I mean, I couldn't do anything because I felt threatened. As cute as that little girl was, I didn't think I had enough. I couldn't do anything. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't move. It felt like 5 minutes, but maybe after 30 seconds, the mom walks back in the room. And this is where something happened that I want to pause on, that is critical for business today, that I didn't know back then. And that was, there was a maybe moment. And what I mean is I had to leave. The girl was a threat. I needed to go make money for my family. I literally did have a mortgage payment to make in a couple of weeks. But when that mom backed in the room, I just thought for a moment, what if I could? And it sounded like a maybe. Well, maybe it's just a hole. Maybe it's just a hole. And that was the moment that everything changed. Now, I got to tell you, I went up on that roof and it wasn't just a hole. They needed a new roof, but my mindset had shifted in that moment when I thought maybe I could. And I want to really pause on that if we're going to make any ground today. I'm writing a book right now, and it's really this moment. It's the exponential maybe. maybe I can do more. Because every time in my life when I said no, I was always right. In that moment, if I said I can't help, it would have been easy to justify. I'm sorry. I have great empathy for you. Your room, it looks bad. But in that moment, I said maybe. And I went up on that roof and I said, oh no. But since I said maybe, I got on the phone and I got volunteers. And that weekend, I showed up with 6 volunteers and one of the siblings that was older, a teenager. And we went up on that roof and we gave them a dry roof. It wasn't the most beautiful roof I've installed. In fact, it might have been one of the ugliest on the outside, but on the inside, the family stayed.
Right.
They got to stay in that home. And so this is what that maybe moment changed everything, because what it gave us was a fist bump, a high five, a hug to people that don't hug. So what I mean is whenever I would run into one of those siblings who lived in that home, and I did for years, and whenever I'd run into one of those volunteers, I did for years, it was a fist bump. It was a high five. It was a look what we did together. Do you remember that moment? We changed the world, because that's what it feels like. Right. And today, that's what it feels like at Antis Roofing in our culture. I didn't know what culture was for the longest time because I didn't have any employees. It took a while to build this. But over the years since we donated that first roof, we've been struck with this condition. Reddy, it's like we can't let a family have a leaky roof just because they don't have the money to pay. And, and that's worth saying again. I mean, I cannot let a family that I know about have a leak into their home if there's something that I can do about it. And what I've learned is there's something I can do about it.
All right.
I'm glad I paused again right then, because I want you to hear that wherever you sit. We're a small roofing company, and we donate today every roof on every Habitat for Humanity job they've built in the last 12 years. It's $1.5 million in roofing. I can't explain how we can do that. I don't know how it works. I really can't. I explained part of it. That's why we're writing a book. I'll tell the stories, but it's like the power of maybe. If I think maybe I can do more, I'm always right. If I think no, I can't do more, I'm always right. And so what I've learned is together, if we can think maybe, it turns exponential. And then all of a sudden, these small acts of kindness that are given with great love, they're able to change the entire world. And that's what we've discovered. I actually have a prop here. I didn't mean to, but I have Ronald McDonald socks. Uh-huh. I took these off. I wore them the other day. I've been wearing these for 4.5 years. I wear them because it makes a difference by wearing them, because my kids were born premature in Shock NICU and in Children's Hospital, Orange County NICU, and Ronald McDonald House kept us close. And I'll tell you that story later, but since they kept us close, that became my real story. And we started donating all the local Ronald McDonald House roofs on top of the Habitat roofs. How can we do that? I don't know, but we can. And the next thing you know, I'm telling my story about my premature born twins to the National Roofing Contractors Association, which I was a board member. And the next thing you know, the roofing industry, 200 companies, are taking care of all of the Ronald McDonald House roofs on all of the homes across the country. It's like what I want to focus on, and what's happened since that first roof give is somehow, by not saying no, by thinking maybe, together we're able to truly change the world. And it's not just in roofs, it's in food, it's in shelter, it's in love and acknowledgement, it's in healing. We're able to do countless gives on hundreds of nonprofits, locally and nationally, and we're a $20 million company. And I think that's the thing that I want to share with your audience.
That's awesome.
Why we're writing a book, is how we do this, why we do this, what it means to us when we do this, and how our lives become so much more open. And not only do we have more, but we sleep better, and our people sleep better, right, and they stay.
Right. That's awesome. That's a very inspiring story, and it must have made a huge difference for all the families you touched. Like especially the story you were talking about, the little kid and the mom. It would have made a world of a difference for them. That's great.
Well, it did. They were able to stay. I mean, look at somebody, and so many people are home insecure or food insecure. Some are both, like this family likely, and they were so close to being homeless. And
Right.
then things really, but because we made the home safe, it was not condemned. They could stay. And what that meant, yes, that's a tremendous difference. Every time we're able to stop a nonprofit house a leak at their homeless shelter, if we can go down there and we can patch that leak for them, it means those families can be comfortable, can be, I mean, it's amazing what each small act does if you hold it differently. If you hold your intent, like, stop thinking about what's fair. You do yours, I'll do mine. I'm going to win, you're going to lose. We're competing. Start thinking that we're all together in this and watch what happens. It's that exponential power of maybe it comes back on us in story after story after story.
That's great. So that's a very inspiring story. So, I would like to get some advice. Like, what advice can you give, like, budding entrepreneurs to become successful?
So that's a great question. So it's really, okay. So if you want to be successful today, everything's changed in the world in the last 10 years. Top-down management doesn't work because there's a lack of trust. Authenticity is missing today in society. It's missing, at least we think it is. Even when it's there, we don't recognize it unless there's this: real stories with vulnerability. And your real stories with vulnerability come out when you talk about the cause that's near and dear to your heart. And everybody has it if you pause long enough to think, if there was something I could do in the world, maybe even get paid for it and change the whole world and make it better, today you better have that. We're literally in prison rules. Now, that sounds, this is a harsh story. I don't normally tell negative stories, but I want you to understand, if you've ever talked to somebody that's gone to prison, they've told you this: they had to join a gang. And you go, you don't have to join a gang. They have to join a gang. If you go to prison and you're unaffiliated, you're a threat to every gang in there. And there might be 5 to 7 gangs. I don't know that number. I made that number up. That's not where I'm expert. And if you're not affiliated, you're a threat to everybody. But once you become a member of this gang, it falls in line and everybody knows who you are. Well, people kind of know who people are today by the badge on your LinkedIn where you went to school, but that's not enough, because anybody can get a degree. But who are you at your core? What is the cause that fulfills you? If we were traveling on the plains 10,000 years ago as the nomadic people, what would be the thing that would let you trust me that I would be safe to travel with? I'm going to tell you what it is. It's that tattoo on my forehead that says, I think everybody deserves a decent place to live. Because I serve on Habitat for Humanity Board of Directors, it creates trust, not with your conscious brain, it gets there, but with your reptilian making brain, your decision making brain, because I'm safe to travel with. Because I'm on the board of Ronald McDonald House, I'm safe to travel with. If you, like me, think it is unimaginable to ignore sick children. So imagine, this literally, it's back to reptilian brain rules. It's like all of this emotional intelligence stuff is right. I didn't believe it at first, but we behave as if we were still on the plains 10,000 years ago. And today, with all this authenticity out there, because I wear these socks, I'm safe to travel with, because you know that I will protect your children at all costs. And that's what you need to do today. So to all the young professionals out there, align yourself with cause. And when you align yourself with cause, find a board that has a strong brand and get affiliated. And don't join it unless they have a great CEO. They must, or you will fall into a quagmire. And don't join the board don't join the committee on the board unless the board members of that group have something you want. Like they're people you would be honored to sit next to. And what you will find is you will network, you will learn, you will breathe the air that these people breathe that are changing the world, and it will change you forever in your mindset. Your mindset will shift and you'll see yourself hired as they do. And you'll realize that you are no longer this poser, this imposter, and you'll see yourself as a real change agent that can make lives better for people inside your company and out. And I see this happening around the world right now more than ever. I see like awakenings of CEOs, not a religious expression there, but an awakening in cause. Like, wow, work can really matter. Work can make my life better. And if I learn to balance my life correctly, because I look like I work crazy hours, I don't. I take crazy hours off with my family. I have this balance and I allow my people this balance. And so people come and stay. And in the roofing industry, there's a 54% national attrition rate. More than half the people that work at any given roofing company today will not be there a year from now. But at Antus, last year's tracked before COVID, we were over 90% retention. We're still over 80. We haven't measured it, but we're still over 80. It makes a tremendous difference. So it shows up in the quality in our roofs. And that's why we say every nail matters, because there's 200,000 parts on the average roof. And when purpose shows up at work and safety shows up at work, then all that detail work where all the failures occur, it's done, and the roof life will last to its full warranty. So it shows up in product, it shows up in the day's rest, it shows up in the way the families thrive that work in your company, and it shows up in your community because you're truly able to make it better. But the last thing I'll say, because I have a lot to talk about at UC Radio, I'm super excited about this stuff, but you can't be heard unless you yourself learn to tell your story. Right. And I'm going to tell one more story really quick to justify these thoughts. 7.5 years ago, my wife and I were pregnant. Dawn was pregnant with twins. My wife's about 110 pounds before the pregnancy, so she had twins in there. About 8 months, she was really big. Right before 8 months, she was really big. And I was starting to get scared, but everything was fine. And suddenly the doctor says she needs to go to the hospital to have the babies removed. She had preeclampsia. And if she didn't, then all would be in jeopardy. And so the next day, this happy pregnancy went into duress. We're in the hospital. It was like triage. The babies are removed. They're not breathing. They go straight up to Children's Hospital NICU. And all of a sudden, Don and I are, what are we going to do? And all of the chalk nurses and the chalk doctors, they knew we were scared, and they paused and they grabbed us by the shoulder and said, Charles and Don, we don't have a statistic for this, but this is what we've discovered. If you come here to the hospital every day, twice, and take off your shirt and lay your naked twins on your naked chest for 2 hours twice, that will give them the best chance to heal. And so, we were there, man. We would drive that half an hour drive to the hospital in the morning, stay 2 hours, come back. We do it again in the afternoon. And we weren't talking as much as we were before the twins were born, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We were uncertain. The babies had little milestones. They had to be able to digest food. And all of a sudden, one day I'm going in there and I noticed the Ronald McDonald House station. And every day going to the Chocnico, Ronald McDonald House is right there. They go, hey, we want to keep you close. Come stay in our beds, drink our coffee, work on our computers. We have snacks for you. And I ignored them. I didn't mean to be mean, but I just didn't want to assimilate with people that had sick kids. I was in denial. I just wanted to go see my kids. But one day I'm walking in and I'm late to do Skin on Skin with Charlie. And Dawn was already there. She had Gracie. She was, where are you? And I'm coming in. And I had a problem. I had chronic heartburn. It was so bad. I wasn't going to be able to lay down. I wasn't going to be able to lay down on the gurney. It was like, and I felt so bad, because I wanted to help my son. And suddenly I walked in and there was no attendant there at the Ronald McDonald House station. I looked down and I saw a little green Natured Valley granola bar. That's all it was. It's like, I thought that might help. And I don't remember anything except for like an hour and a half later, I remember being in the chalk NICU with my shirt off and Charlie asleep on my chest, healing in my chest with no pain. And that was my next memory. And then I started to get it. Oh my God, they keep us close. So when Ronald McDonald House came after my twins were completely healed, a couple years later, they showed up. It was easy for me to say, yeah, I think I can come back and help keep you guys safe, dry, and close by providing the roofing. And so we've been doing that ever since. And that's why, we just raised $13.9 million. Katie Rucker and I did as my co-chair of the campaign to double the size of Orange County. So we've used it where I've worn these socks and told that real story to provide roofing to all the Ronald McDonald houses in the U.S. and to raise almost 14 million. It might be 14 million by now. This was a few days ago. And it's like, all I did was tell my real story. And that's what you will do. You will tell your real story with pictures, with people. You'll learn you'll learn that it's okay to talk about the good that you do if your intention is to show others how to do it. And there is a mind shift there. Because sometimes in the past we talk about our victories and why we're better, and we start to give that away, and we start to learn how to talk about things with the right intention for everyone. And that's the glorious thing that happens at work today. If you really dive into authenticity at the sake of vulnerability, to show, because near your weakness, near the thing that pains you, is your superpower. I'm afraid of what people think of me. That's why I'm a great speaker, because I take it seriously. I love the people I'm speaking to, and I want them to with me. I don't think I know more than them. I think together we can have a discovery. That's like we did that a little bit today. Ready? The way you asked the question, the way I answered it, we might have answered it better than we ever have. And that's how I hold it every day. Together, we can see this, we can do this better. And if you can learn to hold it that way with your kimono open for the world instead of tight, I want no one to succeed but myself, then we can change the world. And that's how I run the business.
Perfect. That's awesome. Very inspiring. Great. And as an entrepreneur, like, what do you think are the top three skills or the top skills that any entrepreneur would need?
Well, I mean, the first thing, I could probably go in different directions, but I know this would be one of them no matter what. Empathy. I mean, today, man, when your empathy meter's off, then you're not being heard, then they're preparing to leave, whether it's your client
Mm-hmm.
or it's your employee. So empathy would be the number one thing I'd say needed today.
Uh-huh.
The second would be, what's the word I would say? I mean, to honor your values, to be all in. You know, my dad would say things like, you show up no matter what. You know, you make everything better that you touch. So there's something to do with, you know, I don't like to say work hard. I think that's a really old, antiquated statement. I mean,
Right.
work smart, to know yourself, you know, so self-discovery is critical today. Who are you? You'll hear me go off on this tangent whenever I speak. I mean, how do you lead me? You don't know who you are. So I journal every morning. I write down what I want to do today. What would make the day great? And you know what I write? I write that I will lift everybody I touch in wakes and in ripples that will last forever. And if I don't write that, then how could it happen? But if I write that, what if it happens? I write things like 6-7 years ago, before I was asked to speak a lot, I would write things like, I am a master storyteller on the I ams, you know, like I put a question because I didn't believe it. I am a master storyteller. Sometimes today when I'm introduced in big arenas, speaking to multi-international audiences, I'm introduced as a master storyteller. Now I had to remember how that occurred, but your life can become magical when you learn to discover who you are. That's why I'm big on assessments. Like, I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, and this is going to be familiar to some of you. This is a great mind shift opportunity question. Go with me on it. You're an animal trying to survive in the world. Are you more like a lion, a cocker spaniel, a gazelle, or a fox? Now, I'll give you more description. Do you lead? Do you need to grab the lead like a lion? Do you need to be popular like a cocker spaniel? Do you stay middle in the pack like a gazelle, or are you only traveling at dawn like a fox? You better know who you are. When you know who you are, you release the self-judgment, and then you invest in becoming the person you're meant to be. And so I'm really big into discovery, and that's how all this starts. Some people don't even know what cause that fulfills them. They're so lost in thought, trying to be what their parents, their religion, their culture tell them they're supposed to be. And I'm big about, dude, pause, slap, 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 mind shift. Who are you? You are freaking amazing, and nothing in your life is wasted because everything that's happened to you made you who you are. If you pause, get out of yesterday and tomorrow, and right now, look at the world. And that's what I recommend to people. That's how you get into this. And follow me on LinkedIn. That's all I talk about. I could talk about the great risks we do. I do a bit, but I'm way better off talking about the people that make it happen inside and outside in the community.
Great. And I did see some videos. Like, I didn't get time to watch them through, but I would recommend everyone to go to Google and type Charles Antis, and you find a lot of videos like on various topics, like how to keep your employees happy and employees motivated and stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend everyone go and watch Charles' videos. Okay,
Thank
Charles.
you.
My next question is, like, if you had a chance to start your career all over again, like, what would you do differently?
Well, I really, honestly, I would say nothing. But because of what I just said before, um, I really value my path in life. I had no choice but to be who I was until this moment.
And
I mean, I
actually,
was
I
raised
guess
in I
And
was
actually,
raised in a strong religion. I was raised in the country. I was raised, and it's beautiful. I respect my parents' religion, but my magic happens in the shedding of the skins that allows me to discover my magic. And I'm 59, but I feel like I'm 39 except when I'm running, you know,
right,
and it's a mindset. And so I don't think I would have this, be able to hold the story with such presence
right,
if I didn't have the pains. I have some things in my life that are painful by the way we talk about pain, but I don't hold them that way. I hold them as my seer stones, the opportunity that allows me to see what I can see. So, you know, having said that, I'll tell you what I could have discovered earlier. I could have discovered earlier that it's all about culture, not about strategy. It's all about people. You know, it's all about, and when you get to people, it's all about their values and character, not about their skills. And I could have learned that sooner. And I could have learned this one other truth about me. And this is, I don't think this is for everybody, but it's something close for everybody, but it's a little counterintuitive that, you know, and it's basically a hack off of Jen Sincero's comments when she says, when do you criticize somebody? When do you let them know they could do it better? And I remember when I read the book, You Are a Badass, I couldn't wait to turn the page. And when I did, it's the answer to the question, when do you tell them? She says, never. And I held that for the first time. What if I never corrected everybody? What if I never told my wife when I thought she could have treated me better or whatever? And since I started learning to hold that, I've learned it's a master way to live for me. Even in my company, if I see something going wrong that's costing me $50,000 a month in losses, do I bring it up? You could say it would be smart to, but it's very temporary in satisfaction. If I bring it up, I end up solving it. It's still mine. It's always mine to solve. If I let them have that loss and let them discover that pain, then they can learn. When I'm coaching my son in baseball, I've learned he's 7 and I start throwing balls. The moment I say choke up on that bat, it's like weird. He doesn't lose interest in it. I say something hard, come on, son. Then I've really lost him. And so I think that there's something really powerful when we get to a point where we can just love people who they are and only see what they do things right. You never have to spank your child in the butt because he ran out on the street if you properly reinforce the value of staying on the sidewalk before. And so I live also in the philosophy that for me, it is only okay that I compliment. And I recently had some beautiful experiences that tell me why I do that with my children and with my employees who feel like children because we feel like family in our company.
that's great. That's great. And like, what is the most important part of your workday? Like, uh, what part of your workday drives the rest of the day?
That's a great question because I'm very much in the belief of the airline oxygen model. Put the mask over your face before you put it over your child's.
Mhm.
By the way, I missed something I could have said earlier. I'm also a big fan of the doctor on the airplane moment. This is a medical emergency. Is there a doctor who can help? I want everyone to hold themselves as the doctor on the airplane because what is that one thing that you could assist the world in right then? Because on that roof 30 something years ago, on that home, when I walked in that moldy home, that was my doctor on an airplane moment. And just like that life that was saved on that airplane, I was able to save that family to stay at home. We were the volunteers. And that story's been told hundreds of times inside that family, outside that family. And so I want us all to have a doctor on the airplane moment. Back to the mask, I want us today to learn to know how to hold ourselves. You have to take care of yourself. So this is actually great. I thought we were doing an intake call, so I wasn't ready. I just spent the last 3 hours this morning all on myself. I've gone on a walk. The firefighters who were recently injured and nearly died, staying hours. I'm wrong, but you know all the honor and integrity is because I got up and I journaled and I took care of myself. Sometimes I get up and I go stand next to a red and put my hand on it, and I don't know why. And so the most important thing every day that I remind them is because I set my pace that morning on the pillow. Listen in the morning. Not in the evening. You need more than this day. For whatever reason, the best ever. It is the best day ever. I don't miss yesterday. I don't worry about tomorrow. Let's see this moment. I'm in the moment, I'm able to see, oh my God, it's so much better. Now, if I'm lost in thought, I'm thinking, if you free yourself, because all of us, we're miracles to be where we are in the moment compared to all those not in existence, most of which we don't know the story. We are thriving. Look at, unless you're looking to go to jail, you have to put on the table. Have those things.
Great, great. And how do you define success? And before answering that question, like, could you tell me, like, how much more time do you have? Oh, you need to go. Okay. That's
I talk a lot, man. You get half an hour means a lot.
okay.
Probably so.
Okay.
How do I define success? Well, I think success is the best thing right now is how I sleep at night, how I feel when I get home, how I wake in the morning.
That's perfect.
The way God
Great. That's a great way of looking at things. I really loved everything that you told us, and I'm sure all our audience would love the passion with which you do your business, and it's amazing. Like it was great to have you here.
Well, my pleasure.
Thank
Hope to
you
do it
very
again.
much. Yeah.
Follow me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure,
We,
definitely. And
we
you
can
could
change the world together.
right, and you could take a minute and talk about the book that you're writing, so our people would know.
Well, I tell you, like I, our story's been written. I mean, there's I don't have any handy, but our story's written about. Do Good Work came out last year, where the whole workplace, and they have a quote in there for me. I almost got it out. It takes good, vulnerable work, but actually, so that is like, yeah, it's lost. I didn't. I'm not showing vulnerability, which is my
Right.
you but we got some chances here. That's what here. Question you answered.
I want your book.
I want to say the name of the guy, but I can't remember it. Kenny. Ken, they basically was from an interview like this. markets, you'll find that the winds will, over the long run, will flood out any short-term losses. And so all of this is, we're getting quoted all the time, all of these models. And well, I don't know, so finally I got one of my dear friends and my storytelling coach, Jake Golden, who wrote the book Retellable. And he coaches 10 talkers and helps them to be heard, because people don't hear story. And so this world of maybe where we talk about how we can build this model of work when you stop saying no. And we use mechanisms that we talk today, like how to build this type of leadership style. How do we so they see better? And also have a lot of data in there that shows why this matters and how it even helps the bottom line. But really, it's an area that's hard to talk about. There's a lot of experts that talk about it, but there isn't a small business owner how they can thrive.
Perfect. And the title of the book is The Power of Maybe? Is that
right now the word exponential maybe?
Okay.
But we're working with others, and we are. There's a lot of different. We caught up into water. We're really into the water.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh,
So it could be the power of maybe, but it's going to take a year to have this book ready. I believe I've never written a book before.
Okay.
I've only, my part of the book seems really fast. Oh, I'm an interview. Hey, where's the book? But actually writing a book is a lot of work.
Right,
so
I know.
A little bit of time, and I'm really importantly I'm writing with co-collaborators in the roofing industry, those big players that are supporting the roofing industry, that's working together.
Great. That's awesome. Yep. Thank you very much, Charles. It's been a pleasure having you here. And thanks from all our audience too.
All right.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.